Okay, hey everyone. First of all, just a technical check. Looks like all my sound's working. Looks like people are dialed in. So welcome to those who have already dialed in. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. So what is this? This is our sort of build in public, where we do 1 hour every week building some part of Supabase in public, but also, you know, the sort of side goal of this is to show that that essentially we how to do open source, or you know, if you're looking at getting into open source, how you can yeah, do it yourself, or what you need to do to contribute to Supabase, or anything at all. If open source seems intimidating, then this hopefully makes it less intimidating. So yeah, now this time round, I'll just check. We have done a tweet, which is good. I think it's not that one. Yeah. And then, alright, we've let everyone know. So what are we going to do this time? First of all, before I do it, something cool came out today. There's this thing that happens every quarter. It's called the Ross Index. It's actually by a company called Runa Capital. It's a VC. VCs always do these type of things because they love to tag a lot of companies inside a lot of fast-growing companies, but they come up with these indexes, and this one's called the Ross Index, which is the Runa Capital Open Source Index, and they release it every quarter, and then they get to tag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 20 companies inside their tweets. Now, what it is the fastest growing open source companies on GitHub. They track the GitHub stars, but it's quite cool because now we have been in this for 4 quarters in a row. So for 1 year, every quarter, we've been in the fastest growing open source startups in the world, which is pretty cool. In Q3 last year, we grew 207%. Q4, we grew 1,300%. Q1 this year, 462, and then we had a good quarter last year with 1,600% growth, and that's by stars, GitHub stars. So pretty cool. Yeah, super exciting for Supabase as well, just to be yeah, getting this level of attention, which is always nice, and thanks to all those who have been sharing and spreading the word. Really appreciate it. Okay, so with that said, let's check out what we're building this week. Yeah, It is pretty cool. Thanks, AJV. AJC Web Dev. Is that from Redwood, right? Yeah, it is. Okay. And okay, so let's check out what we're building this week. So last week we have basically this studio idea that we're going to build a local hosted version of our dashboard. And the reason why we can't just push our dashboard public is because it's got a lot of our billing data. So we're going to build a sort of trimmed down version, which hopefully is a bit cleaner even than than this one. And we'll build it in public and we'll push it into our main repo, and anyone can contribute to it. And so how far have we got? Not very far at all. We're just cloning the API docs, which is a good place to start because it's kind of like a read-only situation, and it'll help us get a bit of structure inside the app. So what we had this sidebar, and I've just refactored it a little bit to use. Yeah, it's Anthony from Redwood. Hey, Anthony, nice to see you in here. So I've refactored it a little bit to use our Supabase UI. This time I put in the menu bar. This is the same as what we use here. This is a menu bar, and you can see, yeah, it's got actually a bit of padding around it, which I haven't really added yet, but you can see we've got a header and we've got some tables. So this is great. How were we fetching it? I see as well things are a bit cut off in my OBS because I changed my desktop setup, but hopefully it's not going to impact anything here. Let me know if it becomes a problem. Okay, so what we have then is these tables set up that we're fetching them, but we don't have the rest of the sidebar, and then of course we don't have the content in the middle. So what I'm going to do is try and make as much progress as I can here today. Then I'm just going to push it into the repo, and hopefully the community over the next 1 week can help us, progress even further, make it look pretty cool. Okay, so first thing I want to do is just clean this up and get a few of these stored procedures in. And yeah, none of these are appearing, although we have a few. So let's start there. It seems like it could be nice and simple to do. I cleaned up the code a little bit. So if you remember, or you're dialing in for the first time from last week, what we did was we set up this document, api.ts, and we're going to put all our network fetching directly into this document. Excuse me while I have some tea. Okay, so we're going to put all our network fetches inside this document. And we've only got one for now, and that's fetching from our Supabase project, and it's literally just fetching from the RESTful API. And at the root of this RESTful API, REST v1, it has an open API swagger, and we're going to read this swagger, and we're going to determine from the swagger what routes are available or what paths are available. So actually I'm going to open that up. Let's see what the swagger looks like, because we need to figure out how to actually get these function calls, because they live somewhere in the swagger, but I can't actually remember where. So let's jump into our API, copy this. I am going to come here, then do /rest/v1, then this looks like we might even have this tab open. Yes, we do. Okay. Okay, yep. So here you go. You can see that we've got the RPC calls here inside the paths. And in fact, we actually set up the table definitions. Yeah, tables here. And then what do we got? So you can see all these that, I'll just zoom in a bit. All these that start with /RPC are actually Postgres functions, and you can call them via your RESTful API or our client docs, our JS docs. So we want to expose them the documentation for this. I actually thought that it was inside the definitions, and I wonder if it is. It definitely is not in any of these. Yeah, okay, so the definitions only holds the tables. then how are we going to get out? We're going to need to figure out from here. So maybe actually a cleaner way to get all of our tables. Well, no, okay, so let's just do it nice and quick and easy. So we've got tables here inside definitions, and then our functions are anything that starts with /rpc. So how are we going to do this? We'll come into this doc, and actually I'm parsing this here, the definitions here inside the docs function, but actually since it's probably going to get reused, I might as well parse this out inside the API request itself. So I'm going to do this. So we've got definitions, come from data definitions, table names, and I think actually definitions can be just even tables. Let's just do this. So tables. Then what I'll do, yeah, okay, but that's, you see, that's actually a object. And now what I want to do is actually turn all the table definitions into an array. So here it's an object, and we want an array, and then inside that we've got probably the name of the definition. Table name, okay. Type required, okay. So how are we going to do this? We're going to do, instead of object object.keys, what I'm going to do is object I'm going to do, oops, don't know what happened there. And you might see one thing that I got actually this week was Copilot, GitHub Copilot. So let's see if it actually spits up anything quite cool. We can actually experiment. If you guys want to see anything with Copilot, just let me know and I'll try. I'll try experiment. I tried to make it write some documents, like some documentation for me. It didn't do too bad. It was quite interesting, but actually I'll show you one thing that it does after I comment out these two. I was playing around. I don't know if you've seen how it works, but basically you can do this like function to do, and then it'll suggest these sort of, you can see these suggestions. I'll zoom in a bit more, where it tries to pick up what it thinks will be a to do, and I can scroll through, no, not that one, this one, and it can try to determine from what's happening above, what it thinks might be a good suggestion. But I did it on a brand new document the other day. Let's do a JavaScript, and function to do. It tries to suggest a very long, I don't know how to make it, let's see. You can see, obviously, people do some very weird things because this, I don't know how they've parsed this, and who's been writing this, but it does some very, very odd stuff. But anyway, Copilot, if you don't know it, it's basically a AI bot. Well, not AI, it's scraped a bunch of code and it makes suggestions based off code scraped off. GitHub is a bit controversial actually because the code that they've used to train it is obviously based on probably MIT license, which isn't so bad, but maybe like GPL license code, quite open, and it's a bit controversial whether they should be using it for doing it at all. So Anthony says, does this work relate at all to what you're building with the upcoming functions feature, or are you just working on serverless stuff in general? So this one is not to do with our functions release. This is just building Supabase Studio. It's going to be our local hosted dashboard. There will be some updates on functions at some point, but I don't want to give anything away. So yeah, there'll be nothing on that in this live stream. Sorry, Anthony. Okay, so what we are doing again after that brief detour was moving these tables into the API, so then it's centralized. So we're going to do, we know that if the definitions are there, we're going to do object dot entries, because it's actually a object, data dot definitions, then we are going to map over that. So I always use reasonably functional code, so maps, filters, reducers, things like that. So yeah, what we're going to have here is a key and a value. It's going to map over this object, and then we're going to return the value and the table name. Yeah, name is going to be the key. Oops, and this one should be like that. Oops. Dot 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 value. Spread types can be. I don't know why is that one. Key val. Format object dot entries. Because this one needs to be like that, key val. Then in fact we don't even need this return. What we can do is just, it's going to return automatically. So I'll take away this little bit of code and just put it inside these. Okay, so now we've got an array of tables, and here in theory, if I come back here, I can remove this bit of code. Table names is going to be, we'll just do, here it should be returning tables as well. And we're going to do tables.map over all the tables. And we'll return the table.name. Yeah. Now, if we did that correctly, if we did that correctly, we should still have this studio functioning correctly. Refresh just to make sure. And there you go. Okay, so there's a little bit of refactoring, a little bit of cleanup. Okay, nice. Yeah, everything I see these days is like this. It's just like how I code now. Yeah. I think React really brought out a lot of functional programming to the front end, which is quite nice. Will you release Flutter UI package as well? Yes, good news. The community have done an awesome job with our Dart libraries, and yes, we will release a Flutter UI library. Hi Paul, the code is too small on YouTube mobile. Okay, well if I make it too much bigger, I'm not going to see basically anything on my screen. That's probably, yeah, as big as I'm going to go. In fact, sorry for those mobile users, I just don't know how I'm going to code without it. But you can come back and watch on the desktop. It's 1080, so hopefully you can check it out. Alright, so now we've got the table names. So what we want to do as well is get the function names, and we're going to pass them into the let's see, build sidebar. We're going to take this, and then this one should be taken some function names, which is also going to be a string, and here we're going to pass that in, and we should be able to do exactly the same as what we did here, but we'll do function names, functions. I think, you know what, I think we call it stored procedures on the APIs, but this isn't technically correct. It's actually a stored procedure in Postgres is a very specific thing, and a function, Postgres function, is a very a little bit more general. So maybe I'll just call it functions for now, and then let's see. So here we've got functions. The only thing is it's linking to our it's just iterating over our tables again. So now let's figure out how to get all of these RPC calls into our code, into our studio. Cool. All right. So here inside the API, I'm going to take the tables, which will be very similar, except it's going to be functions, and this time it's not iterating over the definitions, it's iterating over the paths here, which is also an object. So I'm going to do paths, and then only if paths exists will I iterate over it. Then the other thing is I want to map it into a name and a value. Yes, that's fine, but then as well I want to filter out so the name of the filter, the name here, the name that we've got here is actually /rpc/url encode. So what I'm going to do is first of all, the name is not quite that. It's going to be the key is actually the path. Then the name is going to be path.replace. I'm going to replace this /rpc with basically a blank string. Okay, now if I saved this, we'll pass that in as functions. If I save this one and I do function names now mapping over functions instead of data, we should have everything you see here. But now I've still got these tables, so I just need to do one little bit of cleansing, which is come into my API again, and if I tidy this up, format that, I do one final thing, and I'm going to filter out anything which has the path, x dot path dot includes so it should actually include /rpc. So we're going to filter out anything that doesn't include that. Let's see. Okay, wait. We want to include only things that have RPC. There you go. Yep. Okay, that's nice. They're not in alphabetical order either, so what I can also do here is just sort them here, which is going to be a nice thing, or wherever we have it, A, B. Then we're going to do A dot locale compare B dot name. So we're going to compare the names A dot name with the B dot name, locale compare. That'll just give one a higher order or not, and you can see now it's all in alphabetical order. So we've got quite a nice now handy all our functions split up. Okay, great. I think we've got a few other things, but they're just more resources. Okay, that's good. Now what we can do, we've got our functions there, we've got our tables. We're probably going to have to do some more cleansing here. Same with these, I think it's going to need some more key and value. But the idea is that you should be able to click on one of these and it'll go to docs channels, docs messages, docs hooks. I think what we want is a different format for each one of these. We want it, so I'm looking at the URL down the bottom. we're going to have sort of a template for our tables and a template for our functions. They're quite different. So what I'll do is actually change the URL. It's going to link to href docs tables, then the table name, then docs functions, and the function's name. Great. Functions, tables. Okay. Now this means that we need a new path inside our pages. It's going to be a folder called tables, and then it's going to be a new file. This is going to be docs. Then a new folder called tables. Then a new folder, a new file, which is going to be the table name.js. Okay. Now, in theory, I should be able to just copy. Let's see. Let's just take one of these small ones. Okay. Table name. This one, actually, we don't need dashboard layout. We're just going to have, don't need this styles. We just want to, let's see, I'm just going to do table name here. Let's see if this works. Oops, yeah, I should have actually done table name. Can't resolve. Yeah, okay. Tables, messages, components, layouts, dashboard layout. Okay. Great, so it is linking. So, where are we? Table name. We essentially want to have now this is the funny thing. If I put this in to a route, then I still need to put the docs sidebar. I basically need to clone all of this, right? Which is going to be a bit of a replication of code. Because I need this dashboard layout and I need the sidebar again. In which case, we probably want to migrate this sidebar or this whole block, this whole thing into its own layout, so that I can just use the layout directly from here. So let's do a new one, which is going to be a new file called docs layout tsx, and it will basically be all of this docs layout, export docs layout, and this one needs to go up. Okay, now we've got this, and in theory I should be able to just import docs layout here, and that one we're going to put here, remove the rest. Okay, now if I come to tables/messages, cannot resolve, for some reason it didn't. Components, layouts, dashboard layout. Cannot find layouts, dashboard layout. Which one should be up? I don't know why it couldn't find a docs layout. Can't resolve components. ... Still can't find it. This is why I prefer absolute paths, which we can fix up soon. But There you go, can't resolve. Okay, great. So now, in theory, we'll use this one as well instead of... so inside our docs, what we're going to have is this one. I think I'll still pass a title. We don't need any of this. We'll import the docs layout from here. This one means we don't... What's this saying? This one doesn't have a title yet, so we'll just put it on. Title string. Okay, so put on the types here. It'll be unused for now, but that's fine. Format. Still doesn't like it. Property children. Okay. Now, yeah, this is the key. We're going to put inside here the children. Which is going to be passed in to as a React component, I think it is. What is it? React element. Let's add that type spec here. Children. Yeah, React element. Nice. Okay. And then here we'll reuse this title or API docs. Format everything, cleaned. Okay. Then we can actually remove all of this. Don't need to fetch this data anymore. It's going to do it itself. So now if I click here, I'm at the home page, API docs, and if I come here, it's actually using table name. And all I did was just refactor up the layout up to a common component, and then yeah, now we're passing in the children. So let me remove. Thank you. Someone's saying remove imports. Thank you very much. Nice to keep the code clean. And cool. Alright, so now we're going to have some format for our tables. And in fact, yeah, we'll just focus on tables for now. Let's have a look at how it looks. Okay, it's basically 2 columns. And then on the left hand side we've got all the fields. You can even edit the descriptions of the fields here. We'll just do read only for now. Then we've also got a tab bar here, which is quite nice, but yeah, for now let's just get some of this content out. We might need to format the table a bit. So I think inside table name, we can also, because we have used stale while refresh inside our API docs here, we can just fetch this multiple times and it'll only fetch it once. So I can actually do the same function call here to get the data, and I am going to need to import this, so spec should import it there. Okay, I don't need the functions here, but I do need and I do need a loading, if is loading. Okay, we need to import a loading component, which is, I think, in loading components utils, I think. Loading and error. Okay, now we need to get this specific table from this list of tables. So what we're going to have is, actually we need to get the const I think it's query out of the, yeah, I don't actually, I think it's Next.js use router. Next.js use router. Here we go. Let's check it out. Okay, so we need to import use router. Import there. Then we grab the router. And then I think we need to deconstruct in fact, that's going to be even better if we just take the table name out of the router itself, router.query. Let's format this up. I can then even put inside here title equals, let's call it API, and then table name. Now let's see if that actually worked. Supabase Studio. This should be API channels. It does. It's appended to the very end. Supabase Studio API channels. So that's great. So we've got the table name. Just to prove it here, I'll put it in here. Table name. There you go. Channels. Messages, very nice. So we're plucking it out of the thing here, and in fact we might want to do some name cleansing. Const cleansed name, table name. Yeah, look at that. It's even picked it up, which is very cool. And let's see if it cleanse table name. Jump in here. The only other thing that we need to do, it's very easy on CSS. We can actually make this capitalized. Class name equals, I think there's a capitalize. Here we can do it like that. The only thing is it's not capitalized in our table name, but actually, you know, in our title it's probably better to use just the not the cleansed table name, because then it's clearer what it is. Now what do we got? I think actually we don't even use a cleansed name, so let me swap that back to table name, and it's obviously in a code block, and it's obviously going to be a typography yes, we don't have it, but basically I need to pull out from our Supabase UI some typography here, import typography. This is just to make sure everything's consistent. We're going to give it a title. So this one here, title. And this should be typography.title. Where did I just put that? Typography. Then chuck this code in here, remove this class name, and we should have a nice large code title. That's great. I think we need to put some padding here, and let's just do that directly in here. We'll need to fix up the padding at some stage, but here I'm just going to do class name equals p4. Just make everything a p4 at the moment, and that gives it a bit of padding. Okay, so now we are getting closer, we're inching closer, but what we do need here is 2 rows actually. I don't really know how this is going to work with mobile, but let's just try and get these two columns up. So here we're going to first of all I'm going to change this to a flex, and then I'm going to do div around this one, and I'm going to make this one class name flex1, I think it is. We'll soon find out. And there you go. We'll just give one a border left, border L, so you can see, yep, there you go, it's there, but it's not very good. So what we're going to do is give this one a height screen. There you go. Now it's not very clear, but what we'll do is make this one then BG gray gray 50. So it's a little bit grayer, and I think that's how it will be in light mode. I don't know, because I never use light mode, but I think that's roughly how it's going to be. And somewhere in here we're going to have the tabs, JavaScript, bash. So something like that, where we can toggle between these two. Cool. Okay. Now what we want to do is pluck out the rough information, so all the fields from this table, and we're going to iterate over all of them. So I don't actually know what this table looks like. I'm just going to now grab the table, so const table equals geez, this is actually pretty clever. See, it's already suggested that, and I'll just console log it. Table here, so I can actually see what it looks like. We've got an object with a description, name, and properties. Yeah, okay. And then the properties themselves is an object. So this one, instead of then, just keeping it like this, I'm actually going to turn it into an array, this property, properties inside our API docs. So I'm going to switch properties to fields, I think. How would I do that? Okay, so I'm going through my definitions here. I'm going to append another one, which is fields. Let's format this a bit. No, and this is going to be mapping over the value. What I'm going to do is just rename this one function f2 table, and then I'm going to go through the object dot entries on table dot properties. Then I'm going to map through that, and this will be a field. Let's format this so we can see it. Okay, so we're going to map through table dot properties. Undefined, it could be undefined, so let's do that. Still not going to work. So we might need to do something with this soon, but this is going to be basically field and format enum type format array. We want to get the name of it, which is permission role. Okay, so we'll just do the name is going to be this one needs to be inside it. Key field dot 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 field name is going to be key. What's going on here? object.entries. Could be, I think it's because it could be this. Or now we want to map through and we want to return this whole thing. There you go. Now this is probably getting to the limits of I mean, if you're just dialing in, hey Jamie, thanks for dialing in. If you're just dialing in now, then you know we're mapping through this and probably reading this. For most people reading this, it's just very confusing code. So what started as a simple, map and filter is now getting a bit complicated. So probably at some point we should refactor this so that it's much clearer what is happening, so that anyone reading it can come through and understand it. But now this means that for each table I have a fields array, and if I literally jump back here, it should have refreshed and I go into one of this table, we've got a fields array with 3 props. Now if I jump into this, I should be able to map through div. In fact, I'm just going to do const fields. Wow, okay, this is crazy. It's literally Copilot has literally detected what I'm going to do. It didn't do anything more than that, but we're going to return a div of the name in the middle, and I should be able to do inside here a div of fields where I'm going to map through table dot name dot table dot fields dot map field, and it's going to put out a field, and that is going to take the name field dot name. Is it? Yeah, name type, yeah, field dot name. Dot name. See if that actually works. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's the first time I've really used Copilot to do it as good as that. It's actually detected all the way up through to my API spec here and sort of detected what are the fields that I'm going to pull out. I don't know how it does it, but that's pretty cool. And if I jump into, say, the channels, we've got inserted at, slug, created at. Yep, so we've got some nice fields working across all of our tables. Very cool. Alright, what are we missing? We've got the fields, and that's pretty much it. It's got a bunch of sort of docs that we'll do that iterate through updates, rows. Okay, so we still need to spit out a code block for each of these fields. So it's going to be the code, the name, and the type, I think it is. So let's do this now. It's going to be same typography dot title. I'm going to make this one a title 1, and then we'll do the other ones title 3. There you go, inserted at. Okay. Now we also wanted to include inside this the integer. So this is the format. I think it's the format. Let's try it. No, maybe it's the type. Since if Google Copilot suggests it, it's probably correct. Nope, it isn't. It might be because I'm not passing it here. So let's do type field.type string integer. So channels, let's do it integer string string string. Channels integer string string string. Let's try messages integer string string string. Yep, so great. We've got, I think, the key parts, and then we've got a little format down below. So let's do typography.text without the level, and this is going to be the format. I don't know why it didn't suggest this one, but let's do another one of these with the format. Timestamp with time zone, that's very nice. Then finally we want to put in a description if it exists, and this actually exists inside a field here that should be editable. So as an example, it's going to be right at the bottom, a little input here, input, which is going to be type text, and placeholder is going to be description, and the value is going to be description. Let's see. That one didn't work because once again I need to pass it in. Description. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to put in required. Okay, description. Note this is a primary key. We should put this inside little div blocks. Okay, and I don't know why, but I'm guessing Tailwind has removed some of this border too. Yeah, there you go. And then we've got a width full. Let's make it a full width. There you go. And we probably just want to add in here a P for something like this. Didn't like that because it still goes full width, but still, we'll clean up this in a bit. No, in fact, we'll do that right now. Should be outside the P4, I think. Still didn't work, so we'll leave it because we're gonna redo the formatting soon later. P4. Okay, so we've got a text. Finally, one more thing that we didn't write in here was whether it's required or not. Yeah, here you can see we put it actually on the far right, and I'm guessing then we've got basically a div around this, which is some sort of flex. Oops, around our title. Class name equals flex, and we'll do flex 1, and then let me just see if this is going to work. Yeah, splits in 2. I'll just remove this one and I'll go text right. Then this one, instead of having this, we just want to do whether it's required or not. So required, else nothing. And I think it's still in code. Where's one that's required? The ID is required, so I don't know. Field of required. What does this actually put out? Not too sure, but it's because the required doesn't actually sit on inside the fields array. Yeah, you can see that actually it's an array outside. So there's more formatting that we need to do on the API level. Okay, so now we've got some basic layouts working, and if I put some borders just between it, just to make it a bit clearer, class name, border B, we'll probably put some margin on the top and bottom. Let's just make it 8 for now. Then you can see we've got kind of a format where we're ready to go. We can start editing the descriptions. Can't edit this one because React is going to complain. But yeah, we've got some very basic structure. Once again, an hour goes very fast. We're now at 8:25, which means we've done 55 minutes. And all we did was add in, I guess, a bit of refactoring, and we added in a few routes. So what I'm going to do is leave it here. I'm going to drop this part. I'm going to just push my code, and this time I'm going to show you guys how you can contribute if you want. So here I'm going to add in table route and common layout, and I'm going to push it up to Supabase itself under Feature Studio. Then I'm going to go here to Supabase, our GitHub, and this time I'm going to actually do, we hadn't done a pull request before, but this time round I will. So I'm going to compare and do a PR, Feature Studio, feature, adds, starts the work on a local hosted, on a self-hosted dashboard. Then I don't really need to do much, but what I will do in here is I'll probably post in some updates at some point with the YouTube links and things like that, and ways that people can contribute. But if I just create this PR now, this means that anyone can essentially come in and they can browse through the code. You can make suggestions. You can put all your comments here. The other thing that you could do is you can fork our main repository, Supabase, and you can actually do a PR to this branch as well, make changes, and that's it. So actually, what's the UI library framework that's being used is one of the questions. It's actually Supabase's UI library, so ui.supabase.com. This is how we make everything specific. When will the dashboard be open source? Well, right now. We're working on it. So if you, Alon Barad, want to help build this, then now you can come into our repository, our main repository here, and you can just help us out just building this. This is going to take a while, but we'll do it in batches. I think we'll just start small, but yeah, this is essentially what this build in public's for. Okay, so we're coming up to the 1 hour mark. Thank you very much for tuning in this time. If you have any questions or you want to see some things, yeah, okay, well, there are some more. Well, I would like to contribute. What are the open issues? Well, you're in luck because there's 79 open issues on Supabase. But if you come to our repository, you can literally find. So this is our organization: Supabase, GitHub Supabase. You can just look for any repository. So, for example, if you want to use, say, just the JS libraries and contribute to them, then you can do them. If you want to contribute to the Go libraries, then you can do that. If you want to contribute to the Swift libraries, for example, we've now got some Swift work underway. So anything that you want to contribute, let us know. Yep. Okay. So yeah, we're really wrapped up to the last minute. So I'm going to clock off now, but thanks a lot, everyone, once again for dialing in, and we'll see you again next week for another 1 hour, probably on Supabase Studio again. Have a good night. Ciao.